morning, everybody. We've been talking about this for a while. We've been hyping it up for the past couple of days.
Yeah,
That's
yesterday.
right. Since yesterday, yes. We have a very special guest. A lot of people are super confused about what's going on with the vaccines coming in, and we're very lucky to have Miss General Manager of Sinovac Biotech, General Helen Yang, joining us here today for the midday Q&A to answer questions and concerns that people may have about their coronavac. Thank you for joining us, General Manager Yang.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, now before we begin, to all of our listeners, should you have any questions that you'd like to ask and Ms. Yang, we'd like to welcome you to give us a call at 341-21051 or join us via live stream where you can comment your questions.
Yes, to start things off, as you are very much familiar with General Manager Yang, one of the main concerns that most people have with the Sinovac vaccine, coronavac, is its widely reported efficacy rate. After trials in Brazil, it's been reported that the efficacy rate hovers around 50%. In fact, FDA Director Eric Domingo has been quoted to say that it has a lower efficacy rate of 50.4% when used on healthcare workers exposed to COVID-19. Now, our question is it safe to say that the reports are accurate? And for the benefit of everybody here, what exactly does this supposed 50% efficacy rate actually mean?
Sure, thanks. Actually, for these 50%, those are the numbers we concluded from the only trial conducted on healthcare workers only. And those healthcare workers are the direct contact with the COVID-19 patients. Mm-hmm. Actually, the trial were conducted in a very challenging environment with a high likelihood of contacting the virus. Mm-hmm. And we think even with that challenging environment, the vaccine still proved to have about 50% efficacy rate, which we think is very encouraging. Mm-hmm. And also the trial also shows that the efficacy rate against the fatal cases and severe cases and hospitalized cases are 100%, which is a very good number for us to know that because the using of the vaccine is trying to lower down the burden on the social healthcare system. We need to have enough beds and enough doctors and nurses to treat patients. So I think the vaccine works. And even for the mild cases with the medical assistance that they need to use the vaccine, and efficacy rate in this group of people is about 80%. Therefore, that we think this is a very good result for healthcare, and we can clearly show how the vaccine works among the healthcare workers only.
Ms. Helen, as you've said, in fact, you've been quoted though in saying that it can provide 100% efficacy on fatal cases and even moderate cases that need medical assistance. Does this mean that being shot with the Sinovac vaccine erases the chances of COVID-19 being fatal or causing death?
We think that we should probably shoot in this way, that actually for the fatal and hospitalized cases, and our vaccine preventive rate is 100%. So to use the vaccine from these results, after using this vaccine, it could show that we have a good chance of lower down the burden of the healthcare facility or infrastructure. And that's the sole purpose of using the vaccine in order to make the society running functionally well.
I see. Now, Director Domingo also said that phase 3 clinical trials were done in different countries and it showed varying effects or varying efficacy rates. Now, last January, he mentioned that Sinovac was given the green light to conduct trials here in the Philippines. So have those trials started, and are there any results in its efficacy that you could share with us?
Sure. I think what being said is correct, because we were conducting the trials in Brazil, in Turkey, Indonesia, as well as in Chile, which is currently still ongoing. And those trials are independent from each other. It was run by the local principal investigator. The protocols are different, and the standards and the evaluation on the cases are different. But the vaccines we provided for these 4 trials are from the same lots. And 4 of these trials are following the 0-14-day schedule of giving the vaccination. And of course, the targeted population in these 4 different trials are different. Like in Brazil, it's healthcare, but in Turkey, another large-scale efficacy trial. It is among the most of them are the general population, only a few hundred healthcare. So that gives a different number. In Turkey, the interim results shows 91.25% efficacy rate, which we think is very encouraging.
That's depending on the group that they use these clinical trials on. But my question is there one currently being done here in the Philippines? And what is the efficacy rate for that, if there is one?
I think we were recently approved to conduct a trial.
That was last January.
Right. But actually the trial was not started yet, because normally when preparing the trial, it needs a lot of things should be done. And right now the EUA has already been approved. In many countries, if EUA started, and there might be some ethical issues of keep conducting trial, because people should be able to get a vaccine, but if you do the trials, then they may need to get a vaccine or a placebo.
I see.
Which on ethical point of view, there might be issues. So we didn't start the trial in Philippines yet.
All right, thank you.
So Ms. Helen Yang, so far the focus has been on the efficacy rate when referring to the vaccines, particularly its ability to prevent symptoms that can make the disease fatal. Based on your studies, has the vaccine also shown that it is fully capable of preventing the host from being a carrier of COVID-19 and possibly spreading it to others?
Well, actually, as a manufacturer, we recommend even if you got the vaccine, you still need to be being protected, because you can't prevent it. Because this is due to the general environment, whether the circulating of the virus can be controlling down. But now the vaccination rollout in many countries just get started. We still heard reported cases. So it will be a benefit for the people who are living around you, that if you are contacting the virus, you still may have the chance to bring that to the other who are not protected with a vaccine. So even if you got a vaccine, it's good and strongly recommend that you still wear a mask and keep the social distance. When the herd immunity is reached, maybe the situation can be changed. So this is a public health issue.
Okay, so just to reiterate, basically what you're saying is you may still be able to pass it on to the people around you. So it is better for you to still observe the regular health protocols, just to be sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the people who are living around you.
All right. Now, another question. According to a recent study done by the Octa Research Group, only 1 in 5 Filipinos are willing to get vaccinated. Now, the reason for this is most Filipinos are still afraid of the vaccine, just to put it really plainly. With that being said, what would you say to those who have concerns on its safety and as well its efficacy?
I can understand, and I think this is not, even in the past years, it's not only from Philippines. People are not very familiar with the vaccine, because if you say the vaccine is good, we normally say if you get sick, you take the pill or you take the medicine, then you feel better. So you can strongly feel the effect of taking the medicine. But a good vaccine, after you receive the shot, you don't feel anything. That means good. And then when you don't feel anything, people don't know whether that's good or not. But I think this is go back to why we are choosing the inactivated approach. And inactivated vaccine technology has been used in the past in the so long years among a huge amount of people. And this technology has been used on the hepatitis vaccine, influenza vaccines. And the safety has already been fully demonstrated. And also the data shows from our trials in phase 1, phase 2, as well as in phase 3. Actually, up till now, including the country who start rolling out the vaccination with our vaccine, there has already been millions of people being vaccinated. And the safety data, we will follow the pharmacovigilance after using our vaccine. The safety profile is very, very good. So I think while because the research is still ongoing for vaccine development, normally it takes years, but now it's only a year. So the research will take longer time. But when we are in this pandemic, every government is balancing the risk and benefits. So now we know there is a safe products, and the efficacy, some efficacy higher, some efficacy lower, but it's better than nothing. I think the research needs to go on in order to, for the new virus strains like South African or UK strains, the research needs to be going on. But for the minimum, the vaccine of inactivated kind of products, the safety has been demonstrated. We have now published the results from our phase 1 and 2 in the Lancet. So I think at least it's safe. And then we have showed the efficacy rate in different type of population in different countries. So there are something that you can use to provide protection.
As someone whose parents are in their 60s, I, as well as many others, would love to know if Sinovac's vaccine is also safe for the elderly. And how about those who are immunocompromised or those who get sick easily, and also those who are pregnant?
Yeah. Regarding, actually, you are talking about different segment of people. Regarding to the elderlies, we have already conducted the phase 1 and 2 trials in China for the people age 60 and above, and the results has already been announced. No matter from the safety or from the immunogenicity, i.e. the level of antibody induced, are similar to the healthy adult 18 to 59 years old. And also in our Brazil trial, there are a few hundred volunteers aged 60 years and above. So based on that, so many countries has already allowed the use of vaccines in elderlies, because both healthcare workers and the elderlies are the vulnerable population, which should be protected first. We have seen there are several precedents of different countries above 60 years old, even over 70 years old, being vaccinated. So we think that those are the people should be protected with the vaccine.
General Manager Yang, as you've said, we are still at a trial stage at trying to see how effective this vaccine could be. In the chance that unforeseen side effects happen to occur, what are Sinovac's plans in coordination with the government, we assume, to tackle and fix those issues?
Yeah, actually, no matter from Sinovac or from each country, it has a systematic pharmacovigilance reporting and the process how to deal with any side effects. So normally we will closely work with the government on if there is any side effect being reported, or normally people will focus on the severe adverse reaction or adverse events. And when it's reported, and then there are experts start to analyze whether these symptoms is caused by the vaccine or not. Until now, there hasn't been any SAE, which is vaccine related, which we think is in line with our observations on the COVID-19 vaccine we developed from the trial. And also it is in line with the inactivated vaccine kind of products that we produce and we developed in the past. But even if it happens, there will be a systematic way of deal with that.
I see. Okay, now another question. Other vaccine providers, such as Pfizer and AstraZeneca, have indemnity requirements, which, as you know, would free drug makers from the liability in case of the event of an adverse reaction or effect from the jabs, as well as put up funds for it. Does Sinovac also intend to have an indemnity requirement before delivering vaccines to our country?
Well, I think this is currently recommended by WHO, given the current stage of the development and the use of the vaccine as a decision in order to tackle this pandemic. So we do also have the, we call it a warranty or representation. But I think regarding to the products we are developing and based on the research data we collected, we have a very strong confidence on the safety of our products.
But would you be requiring an agreement for the Philippines before you actually send these vaccines over? Because I believe the first batch is the 600,000 that are donated by the Chinese government. But after that, with regards to the long-term production and long-term supply, would you be requiring an indemnity clause, just like Pfizer or AstraZeneca?
I'm not exactly sure how their terms are, but regarding to Sinovac's contract, we normally will have warranties and representations. But even if anything happens, we will have a term of how to analyze this, how to clarify what are the issues. We're just trying to provide a vaccine to help. And if anything happens, I believe that we will have a friendly way of analyzing it and treat it well.
Okay, so we also know that at the moment, this is a very new vaccine because obviously this is a very new pandemic. But is there any research that points towards how long the vaccine will be effective?
Well, that's really something we need to observe for a longer term because the consistency, what we call it, the observation for long-term level of antibody needs to be observed. And that's part of the research. Every new vaccine needs to be conducted. That will take time. That's why we only got the conditional marketing authorization in China.
I see. Okay, now going back to what you said earlier, Sinovac's vaccine is made from inactivated coronavirus that was initially sourced from different samples, which you already mentioned, from patients all around the world. But it was eventually a sample from China that served as the basis for the vaccine. That being said, would the Sinovac vaccine still be effective against the new strains that have mutated from the UK and South Africa? And are there currently any scientific trials to show its efficacy on the new strains?
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, all the manufacturers are focusing on this topic at the moment. There needs to be some additional research to be done. I think currently for the UK strain, I think there are not much doubt the current vaccines available can still protect against that strain. But regarding to the South African strain or even Brazil strains, we are currently conducting the study with external partners. And normally this is not a trial on human. Normally we just take the serum of immunized people and to take that to neutralize the virus, see how the neutralization is going to be. So we would expect in the next few weeks, we'll have more data to be shared to the public.
General Manager Yang, I have a question from a listener, Chester. He works in the travel industry. He brought up that we previously mentioned that even if you're vaccinated, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is safe to go out, since other people may still be at risk. So does that imply that even if you're vaccinated, travel should still be somewhat discouraged, especially internationally?
I think this is a big topic. It's not that simple because when you're vaccinated, I mean, you still need to keep a certain distance. And the change of these traveling policies may need to go in parallel to see how much coverage of the vaccination would be. If there has already been established a immunity herd, then I think the level of risks will be largely reduced. But now the rollout in every country is just get started. So that's why I still recommend wear a mask or wash your hands and keep a social distance.
So for the clarification of everybody, just because you're vaccinated, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything will go back to normal immediately.
Correct.
And General Manager Yang, at the moment, are there any obstacles that you're currently facing in bringing the vaccine to the Philippines?
No, I think right now we're trying to keep producing and the first lot is ready and we are managing the shipments. So we hope the vaccine can arrive very soon and we will be very happy to see that our Philippine friends will start to get vaccinated.
All right. Now, this question is actually coming from a doctor from the PGH. This is coming from ER Claudio. Recently, there have been news that there are purchase orders that are going around for private organizations or like chambers of commerce that are here in the Philippines. Are you currently signing any purchase orders or agreements with the vaccine for any private buyers?
Not yet. I think we are actively discussing with the Philippine government on the purchase. We talk about 25 million doses and we need to finalize that first because currently, but of course, I think for manufacturer, we welcome any parties who are interested to our products and we would like to offer the help.
But just to be clear about that, there are no signed deals yet with private entities.
No, they're not the signed deal yet, no.
I see. All right, well, do you have any further questions?
I think one question that a lot of us have, could you clarify for everybody how much exactly would 2 doses of the vaccine cost and how far apart are they usually administered?
Well, I will take the second first. I think this is the approval. Well, we recommend the 14 days to 28 days apart, but different regulators have a different judgment. I think you guys need to follow what the Philippine FDA's approval on the schedule of immunization. And regarding a pricing, I mean, this is a commercial confidential information I've been asked, but I'm afraid I'm not able to share because this is not only for Philippines. This is our internal confidential information, which I'm now allowed to disclose at this moment.
I see. I have one final follow-up question. There are recent news that the Philippines is in vaccine talks, or rather in talks of expediting vaccine delivery by even paying more. Is Sinovac taking part in that conversation?
With, sorry, can you clarify with who?
In the Philippines, there's currently news that is saying that there are talks to expedite vaccine delivery and vaccine sales to the Philippines for a higher cost. Is Sinovac one of the suppliers taking part in that?
I'm not aware of that. And I don't think we're charged Philippine hire. Actually, it's lower than other countries.
I see.
We got a question from a listener, Chrisleen. She wants to clarify with you in terms of infection and especially the effectivity of Sinovac. We were able to tackle its effectivity on the elderly, but for teens like us, is it safe for us as well?
Oh, well, actually, normally we do the trial starting from the healthy adults, 18 to 59, and then we move to elderlies. And lastly, we will go to the pediatric group, 18 years old and lower. So currently our trials in phase 1 and 2 on the pediatric population is still ongoing. Vaccination on the field is completed, and we are currently testing the blood sample. So I think the approval of using among pediatric will take a longer time.
So I assume this is because they're not really one of the population that is most at risk, correct?
Well, I can't say it that way, but normally for vaccine development, this is an ethical policy that we go with a group with the strongest immunity, and then test it on healthy adult, and then move to elderly, and lastly go to the young kids.
I see.
All right. So once again, for those who are joining in, we are very lucky to have a Sinovac Biotech General Manager Helen Yang joining us today. As you all know, with COVID-19 vaccines making headlines and our government preparing for its distribution, many people like myself still have unanswered questions, which Ms. Helen Yang was able to answer for us today. So once again, to close things off, Sinovac Biotech General Manager Helen Yang, thank you so much for joining us and speaking with us and taking the time.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, have a good day. Bye.
You too, thank you.
Yep, bye.